and welcome to In the Garden with Flower Hill Farm, a podcast brought to you by Botanical Interests. I'm your host, Nicole Pitt. Today, we are chatting about starting over in your garden space. Maybe you've moved, or you're doing an overhaul of your existing space, or perhaps you're just adding a bed or two to your existing garden. In just a few minutes, we'll be joined by one of my friends in the cut flower world, Jennifer Gulizia of the Flowering Farmhouse. She recently started over on a large plot of land. We will talk about struggles, successes, and all things cut flowers coming up. First, though, I want to chat with you about what's inspiring me today. And that is, well, it's germination. I have some seeds started in my basement grow room, and I'm starting to see the tiny little flecks of green, signs of new life and a beautiful garden season ahead. I had a bit of a health struggle in 2025. I battled cancer, and now I'm on the other side of that. And I've been looking forward to this fresh start for more than 9 months now. And these newborn seedlings are bringing me the hope that I have been waiting for. I'd love to hear what's inspiring you in the garden, even during these long winter days. Send me a video clip. Your story might be chosen to share right here on this podcast. And if we choose your submission, I will send you a gift to show my appreciation. Email me your garden inspiration stories to Nicole@botanicalinterests.com. You'll find all of this information in the description of today's episode. So far in my grow room, I have multiple trays of Lysianthus, one of the most sought after specialty cut flowers, known for its long vase life and its extreme beauty. These flowers are just stunning. Now, these seedlings, well, they take a really long time in your grow space. They can take up to 14 weeks before they're ready to be planted in the ground. They also take a little bit of babying along the way because they're in your grow room for such a long time. There are many things that can go wrong with them, but you can follow along as my Lysianthus seedlings grow up right before your eyes over on my YouTube channel at Flower Hill Farm. What else do I have growing down there? Well, I have some stock seeds planted so far. Stock is the most fragrant flower that I grow. Now, these will be transplanted not out into the field, which is why I'm planting them so early. They will be transplanted into my covered grow space. I have a hoop house. His name is Henry. So they will be going into Henry the hoop house sometime in late February, maybe early March, because they are a cool flower and they can handle those colder temperatures. And this week, I'm starting lavender from seed, which brings me to our seed of the day. It's lavender. Now, there are 2 different varieties of lavender available at botanicalinterests.com. If you're itching to start seeds right now, lavender is something that most of us can plant right now. You start lavender months before you're ready to plant them outside, about 12 weeks. So if this is something that you're wondering if you can start, a lot of times I just simply ask Google 12 weeks from today. And if the date that pops up on that screen is close to my date where I can plant things outside safely, I start the seed. Or figure out your date that's safe to plant. Let's say it's May 1st. And I ask Google 12 weeks before May 1st, and you'll see February 6th. That would pop up as the day to start those seeds. Now, I like to keep a spreadsheet of all of the seeds that I have to start and the dates that I need to start them by, because it never fails that I'll stumble upon a seed packet way too late to be starting it, and I'll always kick myself. So if you have a large quantity of seeds, a large number of varieties that you want to start, make sure that you keep a spreadsheet so you don't miss out on the window for starting that plant. Better safe than sorry. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about lavender. There's a renewed interest in growing this plant, with hundreds of lavender farms popping up across the country. Thousands of years ago, lavender was first used not only as a perfume, but get this, it was used in the embalming process. There were even traces of lavender found in King Tut's tomb. Now, the uses for lavender are never ending, from aromatics to medicinal, and of course, culinary. There's nothing quite like a lavender lemonade. Now, lavender prefers growing in drier conditions, so if your soil tends to be on the damp side, many gardeners will grow them either in containers or in raised beds to make sure that they have proper drainage. So many options. My favorite part about lavender, well, the bugs and the deer, 2 of my biggest problems, they tend to leave lavender alone. That's a huge bonus for me. Again, you can find those seeds at botanicalinterests.com. Use the code in the garden for 5% off. Coming up on In the Garden, we are joined by my friend Jennifer Gulizia to talk about starting over on a new plot. And of course, we'll talk all things cut flowers. Stay with us. Welcome back to In the Garden. Today's guest is Jennifer Gulizia from the Flowering Farmhouse. Jennifer wears, well, I'd say she wears many hats. She's a photographer, a flower farmer, an entrepreneur, a teacher, a mom, and a podcast host of the Backyard Bouquet podcast, which I was recently a guest on, among many other hats. Now, Jennifer is passionate about telling stories and making friends along the way. And I am proud to be one of your friends. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Aw, thanks for the nice introduction. It's so fun to be on the other side of the microphone.
I can't live up to your intros. You literally made me cry when I was a guest on your podcast.
Thank you.
So where are you farming? Where are you located?
I am in Hood River, Oregon, which is in the Columbia River Gorge, one of the few national scenic areas in the United States. And if you're into water sports, you might know us as the windsurfing capital of the U.S.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what zone are you?
We are zone 7B, although I just heard this weekend that there could be some zone changes and that we could be moving up more to an 8. So,
wow, that's incredible.
We get cold enough that sometimes I'm like, are you sure we're not a zone 6? So,
yeah. So for the audience members who are not familiar with you, give us a little backstory. Before you found flowers, how did you fill your days?
Yes. Well, I was a wedding photographer. And it's funny, I was just chatting with my daughter on the way home from school today about this. And because the lady that owned the hotel where I was photographing a wedding was volunteering in her classroom today. So, Olivia, it's because of that hotel and that wedding that I photographed there that I'm now a flower farmer. She was like, really? So in 2016, there's that decade trend going around on Instagram right now. And I was looking back through my pictures and I go, oh my gosh, it was that year that I realized while I was photographing a wedding, head leaning over this beautiful bouquet on these stairs, looking at it going, oh, that's a Cafe LA Dahlia. There's Scabiosa. Look at all this stuff in this bouquet. I grow this in my backyard. And maybe not the same colors, but the same kind of flowers. And so when I was giving the photos to the florist, I said, I grow all of this in my backyard. And she's like, you do? Well, what do you do with the flowers? And I was like, I give them away to my friends and my neighbors. I would collect vases, and my spare time was when I wasn't shooting a wedding or being a mom, I was cutting flowers in the garden and leaving bouquets on people's doorsteps. I don't think the local flower movement had really reached its peak yet. So I wasn't really aware that you could sell your flowers. In my mind, they just came from these big commercial operations overseas, and I wasn't aware that local people were growing flowers. And so it opened this new door, and there was this aha moment of, oh my gosh, I could grow flowers and sell them.
It's so funny. I was also looking back on the 2016 trend, and that was the first year that I intentionally planted flowers to cut in my garden because I was a huge veggie grower. I always had a veggie garden. And that was the first year I added lilies and fancy daffodils and irises. And that was the year. So it's been 10 years. And you're right. It wasn't the local flower movement, I think, was at the cusp. It was just coming alive. So tell us about your beginnings. You kind of did a little bit just there, but describe the first farm that you did grow on.
Sure. Well, for me, it was all kind of an accident or serendipitous, I guess you could say. I was a wedding and a newborn photographer. I actually started out as sports photographer because I was into water sports myself. I moved to the gorge to windsurf back in 2006. And so I got into water sports photography when we decided we wanted a family. I switched into wedding photography because that kept me in the gorge. And then I had a baby. And I was just telling someone this weekend, as a child, my walls were covered with the Ann Geddes pictures, pictures of the babies with the beautiful flowers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the saying that life only makes sense when you look backwards. I'm like, well, there you go. I was a newborn photographer and it had the flowers. So all of these seeds were being planted in my life before I even knew what was happening. But I started doing newborn photography in 2014 and I really dove into it. Whenever I decide I'm going to do something, I invest in education. So I found all the best newborn photographers I could, and I went and I mentored with them. I spent time with them, and I learned everything that they were willing to teach me. And so I got really good at newborn photography, but I was renting commercial space in our town and having to put my daughter in daycare. And I started thinking, gosh, if I could take the money that I'm spending on a commercial lease and invest into our house and build a new house where I could have a bigger garden and also space to do my photography at home, what would that look like? And so we went to a mortgage broker and found out that, oh gosh, we could rebuild and I could actually have my studio at the house. So in 2018, we moved into this new house that was designed with my north-facing windows. So it was perfect for newborn photography and beautiful light. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you want north-facing windows for the softest natural light. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's the south-facing windows. So we had just moved into this new house that was designed for my studio. And in the front yard, it had this space that was really unusable. It was where all of the utilities were buried for the neighborhood, but it was big enough for me to take my Dahlia collection that had grown to, I want to say it was 288, but I'd have to go back and look to tell you if I'm actually to the number on that, but I'm pretty sure it was 288 dahlias that I was able to fit in the front yard. And then I threw in some cosmos and some zinnias. And I started selling in 2019 my very first buckets of flowers. And I started getting hooked. I was like, oh, you can make a little bit of money with this. These are really pretty. They make people happy. And I decided to invest in some floral education, not knowing that COVID was about to hit in 2020. And I had just gone to my neighbor, asked her if I could expand into her backyard. She had this big open field that was about a quarter acre, and she graciously said yes. And so we worked out an agreement, drew up a lease, and then COVID hit. And it was like, oh crap, what am I going to do? I'm a newborn photographer. Babies come into my home. And it was like, oh, I can't risk giving a family with a newborn baby COVID. And I also can't risk giving COVID to my family. There were so many unknowns and everything was shut down. So I decided I'm going to maximize this flower space I have. And I rolled out a CSA and I sold every share that I opened up. And that year I sold every flower that I could cut. And it was kind of that affirmation that, okay, people want these flowers. They make people happy. I can make some money. So over the next few years, I slowly kept growing the business. And each year we kept expanding. So we went from a quarter acre to, we convinced our other neighbor to let us use a quarter acre. So then we had a half of an acre, and then we leaped to an acre. And then in 2023, unfortunately, due to circumstances out of everyone's hands, we lost our growing space and we were forced to scale back until we could find something else. And so we had to scale back, keep the dahlias alive because those were my babies. And the rest of what I was growing was pretty much annuals at that time. And we said, okay, what's next? And that was when we decided we were going to sell our house. We were going to really get serious about finding farmland. And everything was literally so serendipitous that I couldn't have planned it better. And I'm a planner. It was just amazing the way everything unfolded. But we got an off-market offer on our house the week we were closing. I found this property and it was 20 acres. We're on the Hood River Fruit Loop. Our Hood River Valley is also, we're known for the windsurfing, like I mentioned, but we're also known for our agriculture. It's a very big agricultural valley. We have cherry growers, pear growers, apple growers, and people come from all over the world to tour our Fruit Loop. And this farm is on the Fruit Loop route. So it's great because I've never able to have visitors to our farm. I was technically on residential land. So it was kind of a gray area where what I was doing was okay. The city had said yes, as long as no one's coming on site. But now all of a sudden I'm farming on what Oregon calls exclusive farm use. So I can legally have people to my farm. I can legally sell through a farm stand. And we are slowly rebuilding from the ground up on a much bigger parcel.
Yeah, I want to talk about rebuilding and starting over from scratch, but I just want to go back to the Fruit Loop. And I love that it's called the Fruit Loop. I can't,
Yes,
my brain is like, Fruit Loop. I want to go on the Fruit Loop. That is
you should come
awesome.
visit. Yes, it's
I
fun.
definitely want to. I being zone 4, zone 5, I'm limited in the fruit trees that I'm allowed to plant. And I'm always so jealous when I see even the almond trees. They're just so beautiful. My dream would be to line my driveway because, I have that long driveway. I'd love to line it with almond trees, but they're zone
Mhm.
5. And sometimes we get -30. Whoop, we'd lose all the almond trees, unfortunately. So I just look at pictures of them from afar. So your new space,
Yes,
it's 20 acres.
yes.
Okay. So what was it before? It's agriculture. What were they growing there before?
Nothing. It was
Nothing.
a fallow field, so it had been run down. We don't have a ton of history on the land. We didn't meet the previous owner, and the previous owner, we like to joke, was serendipitously holding the property for us until we were
Yes.
ready for it.
I love that.
They had acquired it in 2017, and there had been a squatter previously on the
Okay.
property growing agriculture that was not legal at the time in
Okay.
Oregon, and left quite a mess. We have 20 acres of knapweed and thistle. Prior to that, I think it was heavily grown with hay, and there were
Mhm.
cows. So lots of compaction on the soil. So it, and zero irrigation. You have to irrigate in Oregon where we live. It gets very
Mhm.
dry in the summertime. So it was a very dry, fallow field with very little life when we took over.
So what was the very first thing that you did?
We brought in a dumpster
Uh-huh.
and filled all of the plastic and garbage on the property. And
Yes.
then we had a major burn party with all of the debris. Like, we had someone
Mhm.
come in and help us excavate the blackberries. Our 900-foot driveway was lined with blackberries.
Wow.
What else did we do? And then we started by, we didn't want to till, but you can't not till when you're starting with a
Yeah.
fallow field.
Yeah.
So we brought someone in and they helped us disc, which in hindsight was probably not the best approach, but we did what we could with what knowledge we had at the time. We
Mhm.
disked, and then we put down a 7 mix cover crop in October of 2025.
Mhm.
No, I'm sorry, 2024, because we just
Yep.
finished 2025. And that started growing over the winter, but there was so much compaction that a lot of that did not even grow.
Mhm.
And then last spring of 2025, we brought in Jen Aaron of Blue Raven Farm, who is a soil agronomist.
Mhm.
And she's an incredible vegetable grower, has an organic regenerative vegetable farm in Corbett, Oregon. And she's been consulting with us. And we did every soil test you can imagine. We did a soil analysis, and then we put down amendments. I think we put down 2,100 pounds of amendments just on an
Wow.
acre. So
Wow.
it's for us, it's cost prohibitive to do all of it right now. So we
Yeah.
have to take it piece by piece. So we started with the area that we're growing on and are amending that. But it's great because you can see that, like, the cover crop, as some of it's gone to seed, is starting to spread into other parts of the field. And we just applied for a grant to be able to cover crop our entire property. So fingers
Wow.
crossed that
That would be
comes through.
amazing.
It would be
So,
huge.
talk to me about regenerative agriculture and what that means.
Well, regenerative agriculture is about restoring the land. And Josh Tickle, who is the producer of Common Ground and Kiss the Ground,
Mhm.
he put it so well. He said anything that is rebuilding carbon, and I'm not quoting him by I can't even say that right now.
Yeah, you're
I'm not.
paraphrasing.
Yes, I'm paraphrasing, but basically anything that is adding carbon back into the soil is regenerating the land. So there's so many ways that you can choose to be regenerative, but some of the common practices are minimal disruption of the soil, not monocropping, integrating animals into your grazing practices, and of course, now that I'm on the spot, I'm blanking on the main principles.
That was a lot, though. That's a lot of, details.
Yes. Being kind to the earth, being kind to what you're growing, and doing it in a natural way that restores the land.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically just being a sustainable flower farm, not just, but it's being a sustainable flower farm and treating the earth with kindness. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
So far, okay, you've done the cover crops, but you planted in 2025. What were you able to get in the ground?
We've planted a lot. So we actually, literally the day we closed on the property, I kind of left out a big thing when you asked what did we do. The day we closed on the property, our local Growers Alliance sent out an email saying that this farm that's across the river from us, we're in Oregon, but we border Washington. And so as the crow flies, this other farm is probably 3 miles away from us, but driving it's maybe like 45 minutes.
Right.
And they're a regenerative pig farm. And they had gotten a grant for 1,000 native trees and shrubs. But the deal was that they could only get the grant if they brought in 3 other local farms. And we look around our property, we're like, do we even have 10 trees on this land? Let's do it. And so we applied for the grant and got it immediately. And we're included in this grant. And so we had to excavate in the fall because this grant was through Contour Lines is the name of the nonprofit. They're in Asheville, North Carolina. And then they're called contour lines because they require that you plant on the contour lines of the earth.
Okay.
And so it's to help capture water and it helps establish the trees better. And because we're a cut flower farmer, it was awesome. They worked with us to pick out trees and native shrubs that could double up as cutting potential in the future. So we planted 3 acres. On 3 acres of our land, we have 1,000 native trees and shrubs that actually took off like crazy this last year. The sumacs, I don't know that we'll actually cut from those. I'm not sure if anyone cuts from them, but they grew, they were probably 7 or 8 feet tall and they started as 18-inch little shrubs, bare root shrubs, and we planted them in March. So that was the first major thing. So we have 3 acres that we're calling our native restoration prairie. And we actually had bought a sign. I was heartbroken when Jane Goodall passed away this year. She was a major inspiration in my life and continues to be. And I loved her book, Seeds of Hope. You can go on her website and you can buy a plaque that says Jane Goodall Seeds of Hope Garden, and you can dedicate a garden space to her. So we have a plaque to dedicate this space of our farm to Jane Goodall. And to
that's
honor
beautiful. I love that. Aww.
So that area, the next step of that area, we're working to put down wildflower seeds and native grasses so that we have minimal mowing in that area. And it'll just be a really beautiful area. We already see the birds sitting in the trees, and it'll provide a great space for native habitat. And hopefully we can cut some of the excess branches in a couple years from now. And then we planted, I'm thinking in my mind, probably about an acre. It's just over an acre, actually. We put in 4,000 dahlias. We started our perennials. I was so excited to be able to finally put perennials in the ground. I remember when you planted your hydrangeas. And so we went big on hydrangeas. And they're tiny right now. Hopefully in a couple of years, we'll be able to cut from them.
Mine were maybe 6 to 8 inches tall. And by year 3, they were 4.5, 5 feet tall. And we had just a sea of bloom. So I know you will have the same success.
Awesome. That's my hope. My fingers are crossed if the coyotes will just leave things away. We just finished planting the first half of our peonies. We still have the only thing at our old field that I had planted that was a perennial was peonies. And I dug those all up and I put them in crates. And they're still living in crates 2 years later, barely surviving. Those still need to get planted, but since
they're resilient. They're shockingly resilient. And I am not kidding you when I tell you I'm in my nursery house right now at the shop. Downstairs, I have 5 crates of peonies from a couple of years ago. And they're amazing. Still fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I threw some in a plastic bag with a little bit of soil and pretty much neglected them all summer. And I just planted them literally last week. The only problem we're having now is the darn coyotes
Mm.
keep
Are they
digging them
digging?
up. They're
Okay.
digging them up and
Yeah.
pulling the freaking roots out of the ground. Excuse me, but I'm just like, ah.
I wonder if there's like, what do they, I don't know, cayenne pepper? Just two cayenne peppers so they sniff it up and it'll run away. I don't know. I've never had a coyote digging up my peonies. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
awful.
yeah, and it was my oh, what were they? Angel cheeks.
No, I love those. They're so
Yes.
puffy and delicious. Ah,
And another blush one. I was like, of course they're going for the most
yeah.
expensive ones.
Yeah, the angel cheeks are phenomenal. I just started to see my first blooms on that last year. It was one of the later ones that I planted. My next question for you was going to be, what are the struggles that you've had so far? But clearly, coyotes are a struggle. What else has been a problem?
The other problems, oh, I mean, it's funny. Last year, I chose the word abundance,
Hmm.
and you don't get to choose just the good sometimes when you
No.
ask for something to come in. So we had an abundance of beauty, an abundance of blooms, but we also had an abundance of weeds and an abundance of wildlife pressure this last year.
Hmm.
And so many challenges, but I mean, really, we can look at. I heard someone say this last year, and it was a really good way to look at it. In life, you either get an opportunity or you get a lesson. And so I'm trying to look at all of those tough times instead of them being like, oh man, why is this happening to me? It's like, what is this trying to teach me?
Exactly.
And so with the wildlife, the coyotes have been a problem since day one. They love chewing on irrigation. They
Wow.
are getting underneath the fence. So in our native area where we planted the 1,000 native trees and shrubs, we have thick tubing, irrigation tubing, and they think it's fun. I don't know if it's the cubs. We haven't got them on camera yet. They will come in. Well, we've gotten them on camera, just not in action,
Right,
chewing
doing it.
on it.
Yeah.
But they'll literally chew the irrigation lines in half and then drag them across the property. And you're like, what are you doing? Stop.
They are bored. You need to provide them with some toys, like
I
other toys.
have dog
Have a
toys on the
coyote
property.
playpet. Yes. Give them a few balls. And what is that? Tetherball? Remember tetherball?
Oh,
I wonder if
yeah.
they would like play with tetherball on the string and they would stay away from your irrigation. Or no, put irrigation on a pole and maybe they'll go for that instead. Oh my gosh, that's so frustrating. I thought I was having a problem with, I've got this woodchuck that eats, but it doesn't touch my irrigation. It just eats all my plants. But I've never had a coyote problem. Wow.
Yeah, we have a lot of wildlife. So our property, before we acquired it, it wasn't fully fenced off. And so now
Hmm.
we have a 10-foot deer fence to keep the animals out. And it's a struggle because you're like, oh man, this was their land before us. We actually
Right.
we've applied for a grant with Oregon Department of Transportation. Have never heard back. We keep trying to follow up. It's for a
Mhm.
wildlife corridor crossing. And
Oh.
our property sits in like the highest priority for wildlife corridor needs. And so the only reason we have game cams up is to try and prove our point that we
Hmm.
need to have a crossing here. We have more than enough property. We've offered to give the state 20 feet to allow of width to allow for wildlife crossing to go across our
Hmm.
property. Because what happens is we back up to the Hood River on the west side of our property. And then on the east side, we back up to Middle Mountain, which is a fairly tall mountain, hillside. And
Hmm.
so the animals will cross from the river to the mountain. And ours was the easiest access point because there was no fencing. So now they can go further down into a forested area, but it's having them have to relearn where they can cross. And so, I mean, we see coyotes, we see bobcats, we see cougars, we see large herds of elk. We've had deer get into the property. When I leave the gate open for like CSA pickups, I have to watch.
Yeah.
The deer will sneak in. So lots of animals. And then probably the hardest challenge has been the amount of weeds that are
Hmm.
reappearing that we woke up in the seed bank.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of them is clover. And the clover is really good in one hand. There's a
Hmm.
book is called What the Weeds Teach Us. And it says that weeds appear because they're trying to solve the problems of the soil. So if we look at it that way, it kind of changes our perspective. So for
Yeah.
example, knapweed appears when you have a calcium deficiency. So as you increase the calcium in your land, the knapweed will slowly start to disappear naturally. So people are telling me, oh, you're never going to get rid of this knapweed without chemicals, or you're going to need this or that. And I'm like, okay, watch me. I'm gonna amend my soil, and it might take me a little bit longer, but we're not going to use any chemicals. We're going to be kind to the land. And we can
Challenge accepted.
yes, exactly. The one that's hard right now is clover. And thankfully, I just got some encouraging news from our soil agronomist. There's multiple kinds of clover. Little did I know. There's actually a kind, and I was just reading about it. Jen, my agronomist, sent me an article. There's the purple flowering clover, but it's actually called red clover. And then I have a clover that has red flowers that also I've been calling red clover. And one is an annual, one is a biannual. And they are spreading everywhere right now. But the problem is they're trying to add nitrogen to the soil because we have a deficiency. But what they're doing is clover, for those that are watching the video here, they literally create this web that creates a structure on the top of the ground trying to protect from erosion. Well, when you're trying to dig dahlia tubers, you need to get underneath that clover. So it's taking about 4 times as long as I'm used to dig dahlias. It's almost end of January, and I still have dahlias to dig, which I'm normally done by Thanksgiving.
Wow. Well, you had 4,000 in the ground. That's incredible.
So those are the big challenges.
Yeah, I want to talk more about dahlias with you right now because so not only are you taking on this big adventure with starting the new farm and all that stuff, but you're also offering a lot of learning opportunities for those who follow you. And one of them coming up is about dahlias. Tell us about what you have coming up.
Absolutely. Well, on March 3rd and 4th, we are hosting the Profitable Dahlia Summit, which is going to be a 2-day live virtual event featuring 11 dahlia growers from across the country. And the idea is this event was sparked because I had someone tell me, don't you think there's too many people already selling tubers? And I feel like we work in an industry that we should all feel so abundant and realize that there's so much room for everyone. Nature's not scarce, so we don't need to be scarce. And I'm like, okay, so many people are getting into dahlias right now, which is awesome and amazing. And I want more people still to get into dahlias. But everyone immediately gravitates and says, oh, I'm going to sell my dahlia tubers. But they forget that there's so many other ways that they can also profit off of their dahlias. Or maybe there's a smarter way to sell their dahlias from their roadside stand, or better way to track their numbers. And so those are the myths and the things that we're going to try and dispel and help people feel empowered with at this summit.
The dahlia craze is real. And
So real.
I have talked to you about dahlias before, and I told you, I think last year I told you that I was going to divorce dahlias because I was having a hard time. I would have a really abundant year, and then I would have a really a year that was lacking, really. But I figured out why, and so this year I'm getting back into my relationship with dahlias. I have ordered more than 100 varieties that are new to me this year. I know I've been trying to support all local farms. I have ordered from more than 20 small farms. I'm very happy to be able to do that because I'd also like to see what I can do with dahlias. And one of the other things that I'm trying to do, which I know a lot of other people are doing as well, is trying to start my own dahlias from seed, because that is so magical when you can take a seed and discover really a new dahlia and have it be like something that's never been seen before. So there are so many opportunities in that world of dahlias, not only to, try to make a little extra money on your farm, but to also bring happiness to your customers. I have customers who, if I offered just a dahlia CSA, they would be jumping on it because they love them so, so much. So we're going to put all of the links to all of those courses that you have in the description of this episode, because I am going to be taking that course along with you. I cannot wait. And you have some other stuff too. What are the other things that you have as far as learning opportunities?
Well, the summit's the big one right now.
Yes.
And I mean, we have so many amazing speakers. We have Julio from the Flower Hat is going to be sharing about how he grows dahlias for weddings and events. We have Heather Kane from Petal Pink Flowers talking about how to sell your dahlias and work with florists. And she has so many amazing florist relationships that I'm really looking forward to hearing some of her secrets to success there. And then Marin Mathis from the Farmhouse Flower Farm, who's the queen of sweet peas and dahlias, is going to be talking to us about how to host a successful tuber sale. We have Charlotte Smith, who's going to talk about the mindset you need to be able to shift your thinking from giving away your dahlias to pricing them for what they're actually worth, to value yourself and your time. Brooke Palmer from Jenny Creek Flowers is going to talk about extending your season. So she's in New York and she has dahlias in June, which is earlier than me. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we have 11 speakers over 2 days. It's going to be a great event. And then I do teach some classes. I'm going to be rolling out some in-person workshops this year. And we have a community called the Dahlia Patch that we open up for enrollment a couple times a year as well.
Yes. And if you missed it the first time, that Dahlia Summit is virtual. So it's not something you have to travel for. It's virtual. So I will be there virtually.
We are looking forward to it.
Yes. Okay. So put dahlias aside. What are some other flowers that you grow? Do you start anything from seed, right, for the farm?
I grow a lot from seed. To be honest, though, I did bring in a lot of plugs last year because we didn't have a greenhouse. I was very limited on space to sow seeds. And because I do hybridize dahlias, I started 1,200 dahlias from seed. So that took up my limited space that I had for starting seeds. This year, I'm planning to start a lot more. I am limiting what I grow as I niche more into dahlias and make that my specialty because that's what I truly love and my market loves it. I mean, I have a Dahlia CSA is what I offer.
Oh, nice.
And it sells out every year. So I like to grow complementary flowers that go with my dahlias. And so for me, it's like zinnias, and I'm succession sowing those because we get terrible powdery mildew. So I only have them for so many weeks before I need a fresh round of them. Celosia, snapdragons, cosmos. I always have a love-hate relationship with harvesting scabiosa, but it's a great filler.
So beautiful.
And then amaranth, I love. I take cuttings of scented geranium. I keep about 1 to 2 plants alive every winter, and then I wake them up and start taking cuttings. Let's see here. I actually have a lot of spring flowers that we fall planted because I do sell most of my florist relationships are for weddings and events. So I grow a lot of whites and a lot of blushes and a lot of greens, but a lot of yarrow, a lot of feverfew. I was joking with some friends this weekend because I have 100 feet of feverfew planted this year. They're like, "What are you going to do with that much feverfew?"
Oh my gosh, it is so gorgeous. And some people are turned off by the smell of it, but I really like it. I don't know why. I don't think it smells bad. I love it. Yeah, I can't grow enough feverfew.
At first, the smell was a little strong for me. I was like, this is kind of pungent. And I don't know, maybe I've harvested enough bunches that I'm like, ooh, I like this smell now.
For me, it's herbal and not bad. It's very herbal to me now. Yeah, I love it. I can't wait. I have some overwintering in the hoop house and it's doing so well. I can't wait.
Awesome.
Yay. What is your seed starting setup like?
Well, I used to have a really great setup because when I transitioned from being a newborn photographer to a full-time flower farmer, I had this amazing studio space that became my grow room and my teaching room. Now my space is very modest. It's my family room and our downstairs bathroom. My family's like, can we go anywhere without a grow light in the house these days? And I mean, someday we don't have structures on the farm. We were able to build a 16 by 20 greenhouse, and we have the shell of a cooler built, but it's very modest at the farm right now. So I have three, sometimes 4 grow stand lights that are in our house where we're living right now. And then I do have a greenhouse here that's a 6 by 9. So a lot of my seed starting will be sowing in the greenhouses. And then what I can will be here inside the house under the grow lights.
What do you do? What do you start the dahlia seeds in? What size trays do you use?
I sow them in paper towels. And then once they germinate, I plant them into 50 to 72 seed cells, depending on how close it is. Sometimes because I'm starting so many, I don't really like to start before March unless I'm teaching a class on it and I need to have them going sooner than that because otherwise you're babying them for so long. So normally I can get away. I like the air pruning cell
Hmm.
trays that the roots can breathe through, and I can get them into the 72. But if you can't plant them right away in those 72 cells, which is so I usually like to start 4 weeks before my last frost date, and then
Hmm.
2 weeks after my last frost date is when I start putting them outside. So it's about 6 weeks that I have to keep them alive before they
That's
can
not
go in the
bad.
ground.
That's not,
No,
it's much better than Lysianthus.
totally. That is one that I actually bought a whole bunch of seeds. I was like, I'm going to start them from seed. And I just placed my plug order because I'm already behind.
I have both. So I started, I think 7 trays and I will start a few more. But I also have probably 5 trays coming in April because I can't guarantee that the Lysianthus that I started from seed last week is going to make it to April. I have a lot of loss between, forgetting to water them or any sort of fusarium wilt and any kind of fungus or fungus gnats, or there are so many things that could go wrong from planting seed to planting in the field that I always have backup Lysianthus coming. And Grow and Sell does such a great job of putting them together. So I'm always confident that I'm going to have some Lysianthus, whether or not I grow it from seed or it comes in a beautiful box. So, how do you juggle life as a mom with all of these other things that you have going on?
That's a great question. It's a constant juggle. I think juggle is the best word. And you're constantly pivoting. Or last year when I chose the word abundant,
Hmm.
I always have for the last few years, I've had a coach, kind of a personal business coach.
Yeah.
And she's like, Jen, I think you can't just have that word. You need the word fluid. And she's like, life
Oh,
has to be
yes.
fluid because you have to be willing to pivot and go with the flow sometimes. And I mean, we have an 11-year-old that because we don't have infrastructure at the farm, we have a porta potty. It's not the
Yep.
coolest place to hang out right now. So, and the farm is a 15-minute drive from our house. If I go there 4 times in a day, that's a lot of driving when it's a half
Hmm.
hour round trip each way.
Yeah.
So there's things I've had to compromise on. I maybe haven't been able to scale some things quite as fast because
Hmm.
I do have an 11-year-old that I have to take into consideration with all of
Hmm.
this. So it's really you have to be super organized. I prioritize. I mean, I have a planner and it's down to the 15 minutes some days where it's like, okay, I have until this time to be super focused on this and then it's time to be mom. And I have reminders on my phone that like right before I pick her up from school it goes off and it's asks me if I'm being present and intentional. And same with like 5 o'clock at night when I got to finish up again, it's like, okay, it's time to shift my mindset. I got to, and I'm human. I fail many times, but it's like, okay, Jennifer, shift your mindset. It's time to be in mom mode and
Hmm.
doesn't want to hear about the flowers you harvested today.
Right. Yes, I know. It's so hard. Like that's very inspiring to hear that you actually, intentionally make that switch. Yeah. I love
And
that.
you have to like setting those reminders. If I didn't have those reminders, it's easy to just be like, oh, it's now 7 o'clock. Crap. I forgot about dinner for the family tonight.
Yeah. No, that's happened more than I'd like to admit. Oh no.
Same here.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back with one more question for Jennifer. Stay with us. Welcome back. And I have one more question for Jennifer. Jennifer, what inspires you in the garden?
Oh boy, that's a great question. There's so much that I'm inspired by. I think, and maybe it's cheesy, but literally I'm inspired by the fact that flowers do something. There's such a mirror of us, and we all know that flowers, they're not made to last. And the only way you can enjoy them is in the present moment. So I think I'm inspired by the life lessons they teach us and the way that they make us feel, the way they connect us to a time and a place, and just add beauty, a little bit of beauty. Like we all know that this is a hard world we're living in right now. And there are so many people with so many struggles. And to feel like I have a job that matters
Mhm.
is really inspiring. It's like, okay, if I can bring happiness to one person's day, I might not be growing food that nourishes their body, but I can give them something that feeds their soul, that
Mhm.
brings that smile to their face, that they can remember back to when they're having a hard day. Maybe they'll smell something that reminds them of that bouquet. Or, I mean, you give someone a bouquet and they're like, as a widow who no longer has their husband, and they're like, oh, that brings me back to the bouquet that my husband gave me for our 50th anniversary. And you're just like, that impact you can make on people's lives is what keeps me going.
There are moments in time that will stay with people forever. It really is.
Really.
Aw, yeah. Well, thank you. Now, we want to hear from you if you're listening. Send me your garden inspiration stories. You can email me short video clips, Nicole@botanicalinterests.com. Share with me, about 30 seconds or so. Tell me what's inspiring you in the garden, and we will share as many of them as we can right here on the podcast. Now, Jennifer, we will put links to all of your socials and your website, and of course, the Dahlia Summit in the description of this episode so everyone can find you and follow along. I'll be taking part in that virtually, of course, and I can't wait. It's been such a pleasure having you on here. And I want to share with the audience that they can actually come and see us, both of us, at the Northwest Flower and Garden Festival. And that's coming up at the end of February. You're going to be giving a presentation, and so am I. Tell me what you're going to be chatting about in Seattle.
My session is on regenerative cut flower gardening and flower farming. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing how we can make kinder choices in our gardening and farming practices.
I can't wait. I will be in the audience for your chat, and we're going to have a fun time. What day are you coming in? Because I'm going to be there, I think, Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Oh my gosh, it's a long weekend. So we'll have plenty of time to hang out. Yeah. Yes.
I'm arriving Friday. So.
Okay, cool. So I'll catch up with you on Friday, and then we'll meet. I'm sure some people who are listening to this right now will be coming hanging out, and it's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait. It's going to be my first kind of like getaway in such a long time. I'm excited.
It's going to be so fun.
I know. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I would love to have you back. We could do an episode just on like dahlia breeding and all that stuff. There's just so much to talk about. So thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Thank you,
I will see you again in a few weeks.
Bye, Jen. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm your host, Nicole Pitt, and you can find more of my garden adventures over on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Flower Hill Farm. And of course, all of the seeds and garden goodies we talked about are waiting for you at botanicalinterests.com. Or check your favorite local garden center to see if they carry botanical interests, like we do at the Boone Street Nursery. Save 5% by using the code INTHEGARDEN. Want to see what we're talking about? Subscribe to the Botanical Interests YouTube channel for the video version. We'll see you next time in the garden. I'll meet you there.